She's my miracle. Dylan's voice breaks during interview on Shen Yue'S recovery. By Entertainment Storm, July 2025. The room fell completely silent. Cameras were rolling. Reporters held their breath. The energy, once buzzing with media chatter and flickering flashes, dimmed to something sacred. Dylan Wang's hands were trembling. Across from him, the interviewer, a seasoned entertainment host, had just asked the question everyone wanted to know but few dared to say aloud. How did you really feel the moment Shen Yue flatlined? Dylan exhaled, eyes glassy. I thought I was going to lose the only person who ever made me believe I deserved love. His voice broke, just enough to silence everything. Then, in a whisper that cracked through the studio like thunder, he added, "She's my miracle. The night that changed everything." To understand the weight of that moment, you'd have to go back 3 months. Dylan and Shen Yue had been the center of wild media speculation, rumors of a rekindled romance, paparazzi photos outside clinics, and that unforgettable night Shen Yue was rushed to the ER after a public breakdown. Witnesses said she collapsed mid-sentence, gasping, her body shaking uncontrollably. Dylan wasn't supposed to be there. He was still recovering himself from a prior collapse. His own health scare had been well publicized, a mysterious blackout, followed by a string of hidden clinic visits. But when Shen Yue's assistant called him in panic, Dylan didn't even think. He was on the next private flight back into the city. He signed himself out, one insider revealed. Doctors told him to rest. He ripped the 4 out. The moment he arrived, hospital cameras captured him sprinting down the corridor barefoot, wearing only a hoodie and joggers. He was screaming her name. Guards tried to stop him. Nurses recognized him and moved aside. He barged into the ER just seconds after Shen Yue coded. 3 minutes. That's how long she was gone. A miracle and a promise. She came back, Dylan whispered in the interview, his thumb brushing against a small silver ring he now wears on a chain. When her heart started again, something in me did too. According to hospital insiders, the moment Shen Yue opened her eyes, Dylan fell to his knees. He just kept saying, "Thank you. Thank you for not leaving." Over and over, one nurse said. He never left her side, not once. From watching her breath under machines to holding her hand through tremors, Dylan made one quiet promise no cameras ever caught. "If you stay, I'll never run again." Rehab, rebuilding, and raw truth. What followed was nothing short of grueling. Shen Yue's recovery was complicated. Doctors diagnosed her with acute nervous exhaustion, trauma-triggered respiratory collapse, and cardiac stress, a dangerous trifecta made worse by suppressed emotional damage. There was a point she couldn't walk without collapsing, a rehab nurse shared. She didn't trust herself. She didn't even remember the fall. And Dylan? He cancelled every commitment. Paused 2 dramas. Walked away from a luxury brand deal. He moved into a private wing of the rehab center where Shen Yue was recovering. "We were told not to disturb them," one staffer said. He was with her every hour. He brought her food. He read to her. One day, he pushed her wheelchair out into the sunlight and held her face as she cried uncontrollably. "You saved me too," he told her. Fans start to notice. Despite both stars staying under the radar, fans began connecting the dots. Shen Yue's rare social media update, just a photo of a daisy on a windowsill, had a faint reflection in the glass. Fans zoomed in. Dylan's hoodie was unmistakable. Then came his own post. No caption. Just a blurry video of someone laughing faintly in the background. A laugh that fans knew could only belong to her. Speculations exploded online. Is she okay? Is this why he cancelled that tour? They're healing together, aren't they? But Dylan stayed silent. Until now. The interview that shook the internet. Filmed under tight security and aired unannounced, the surprise interview with Dylan Wang became an instant viral moment. For 23 minutes, he was vulnerable in a way fans had never seen. "I was angry," he admitted. "Not at her. At the world. At myself. At the pressure that pushed her to that edge and made me blind to her pain." He confessed he had missed the warning signs, Shen Yue's subtle withdrawal, her disappearing appetite, the long silences after red carpet events. She was drowning in plain sight. And I didn't even know how to swim beside her. When asked if they were together again romantically, Dylan hesitated. I don't want to define it, he said, eyes low. What we have now, it's deeper than a label. I love her in a way I can't explain anymore. Then came the emotional peak. The interviewer read back a quote from Shen Yue'S therapist. Sometimes survival looks like giving someone a reason to fight. Dylan swallowed hard. She was my reason first. A future uncertain, but shared. Sources close to both stars say the two are taking things day by day. Shen Yue is now out of the hospital but undergoing therapy sessions 3 times a week. She and Dylan have reportedly rented a quiet property outside the city. No press, no fans, no noise. They're rarely seen apart. One photographer caught a blurry glimpse of the couple in the countryside, Dylan gently placing his jacket around her shoulders as she stood barefoot on a stone path, looking out over a field. He holds her like she might disappear, the photographer commented. Like he still doesn't believe she's really here. And maybe that's the truth. She's my miracle. Back in the interview room, as the lights dimmed and the crew packed up, Dylan stayed seated. Silent. Thoughtful. One last question was asked. If she's your miracle, what are you to her? Dylan didn't flinch. I think I'm the reminder that broken things can still love deeply. That no matter how many times the world tries to silence you, someone will still hear your voice if they're willing to listen. And with that, he stood up. Quietly. But not before pulling the chain from under his collar. A ring dangled from it, silver, simple, and unmistakably hers. He pressed it to his lips. For the cameras that caught it, it was just a gesture. But for fans who've followed every rise and collapse of their story, it was something more. It was a beginning. The hallway outside the ICU felt frozen in time. Nurses moved like shadows. Machines beeped in haunting rhythm. And in the center of it all, on his knees, hands blooded from slamming a locked ICU door, was Dylan Wang, completely undone. Please, he whispered, eyes red and wild. Please don't let her go. Security had been holding him back, but the moment her heart monitor flatlined, protocol was forgotten. Dylan had thrown himself at the glass, pounding with everything in him as Shen Yue'S body went limp beneath the fluorescent lights. A code blue was already in progress. Doctors barked orders. A crash cart rolled in. He screamed her name once, raw, unfiltered agony that sent chills down the spine of everyone in that hallway. Shen Yue. They were losing her. The 3 minutes that destroyed him. It felt like a lifetime. 1 minute, her heart was gone. 2 minutes, CPR intensified. And at the 2-minute, 40-second mark, a single tone pierced the room, her heartbeat. Flat line shifted to erratic rhythm. A flicker of life. Inside, a nurse dropped her head and wept silently. Outside, Dylan fell forward onto the cold floor, whispering something over and over that only the nearby intern heard. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. His body shook with silent sobs. He didn't move for a long time, not even when a nurse gently touched his shoulder and said the words he wasn't sure he'd ever hear. She's back. Inside the ICU, the first moment she moved. When they finally allowed Dylan inside, he didn't speak. He just stood there at the doorway, eyes locked on her motionless form. Shen Yue was pale. A tube still down her throat. Monitors surrounding her like lifelines. But she was alive. Dylan walked to her side, reaching for her hand, delicate, cold, marked by needle bruises. He knelt again, just like outside the room, and rested his forehead against the side of the bed. I thought I lost you, he choked out. I thought I'd never hear you call me stupid again. There was no response. But then, barely perceptible, her fingers twitched. He looked up, frozen. Shen Yue. Nothing. Then, slowly, another twitch. Her eyelids fluttered. 1 breath. 2. Her chest rose and fell on its own. Tears poured down Dylan's face as her lashes finally parted. Her lips moved, though no sound came. But he didn't need to hear it. He knew what she said. You came. The unseen moment, recorded by a nurse. That moment, too raw for cameras, too sacred for headlines, was accidentally recorded by a trainee nurse who'd forgotten her body cam was active. In the grainy footage, you see Dylan lean over Shen Yue, pressing his lips softly against her forehead. "I swear to you," he murmured, barely audible over the monitor beeps, "whatever broke you, I'll help heal." Then he kissed her hand and stayed right there, through the night. According to hospital staff, Dylan didn't sleep. He didn't even sit. He stood beside her, hand clasped around hers like a lifeline, whispering stories from their past, silly ones, sad ones, the kinds no fan ever got to hear. "She always liked hearing my stupid stories when she couldn't sleep," Dylan later explained. "So I kept talking. I didn't know if she heard me. I didn't care. I just wanted her to know she wasn't alone anymore." Day 2, her tears came first. The next morning, Shen Yue awoke properly for the first time. Her throat was raw. Her body ached. But the first thing she saw wasn't the drip, or the sterile ceiling. It was Dylan, curled awkwardly in a visitor chair, chin tucked against his chest, holding her hand in his sleep. She didn't call his name. She cried. Not loudly. Just soft, silent tears that rolled into her pillow like grief letting itself out through healing. She stared at him, this man who had once left her, then broken himself open to return. And then, with what little strength she had, she tightened her grip around his fingers. His eyes snapped open. And he saw her. Awake. Aware. Alive. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. The silence between them was louder than 1,000 declarations. "You came back to me." In the following days, Shen Yue began to recover, but the progress was slow, uneven, and laced with emotion. Some days she was strong. Some days she shook uncontrollably from residual trauma. On one particularly hard night, she suffered a panic episode when nurses tried to administer a sedative. Dylan held her, whispering again and again, "You're safe. You're here. I've got you." She clung to his shirt like a child. And when the storm passed, Shen Yue looked up at him and said, brokenly, quietly, "You came back to me." He brushed her hair from her face, swallowing the knot in his throat. "I never should have left. A new beginning." By the end of the second week, Shen Yue could walk a few steps. Dylan helped her stand, guiding her every inch with unmatched patience. He joked with her to keep her smiling, even as tears still often caught her by surprise. They'd sit in silence sometimes, side by side, watching the rain through the hospital window. And then, without prompting, she'd reach for his hand. Every time she did, he would squeeze gently, never letting go. Nurses started calling them the miracle room. She shouldn't have survived, one said. But somehow, when he walked in, everything shifted. And maybe that's why, when Dylan later told the world, "She's my miracle," it wasn't just a poetic statement. It was the truth. Because she came back from the edge. Because he met her there. Because love, real, messy, painful love, was still stronger than trauma, silence, and distance. And it's only just beginning.